Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise. And tonight we're going to talk about weight loss strategies. There are so many people that battle with their weight every day and are just so frustrated because they can't seem to make forward progress or keep the weight off or lose any weight at all. And I would like to provide some strategies that you can use or a way of thinking about weight and dieting that might help you move forward. And so let's start here with the general perception about dieting and weight loss, because there are many people that think that dieting is an all or nothing endeavor. You know, you go through, you empty out your cabinets, you get rid of all the cookies and the candies and the processed foods that might be laying around that might tempt you into eating them. And then you start on this very strict, regimented protocol of eating so much food and going to the gym. And that might last for a week or two, maybe even a month. It might even go on to where you actually lose the weight that you have set the goal for. So let's say your goal was to lose 50 pounds, and maybe you do lose that 50 pounds. But many people, when they either have a little slip up, will go back and give up, basically give up on their program. Or when they reach their desired goal, they'll just stop and go back to the lifestyle they were living earlier because they're like, hey, I lost the weight I wanted, so I'm good. I'm done. I've achieved the goal and life is good and kumbaya everywhere. And so there are those people, and there are some people that can eat anything they want. And people look at me and they think, I can eat anything I want. But the reality is I eat as I've been told, I eat like a bird. Because I really don't eat that much. But there are some people that can really eat. I remember working with this one woman who was constantly eating, and she was very thin, had a great figure, et cetera, and then she turned 30 and the weight started piling on, and it was a little shocking to me that it finally caught up with her. Actually, because I mean it's spiteful, it kind of made me laugh when I saw her after a long time, that it was like, now you're like the rest of us, that you actually have to diet and pay attention to what you're putting in your mouth. But the reality of being thin and staying thin is about creating a lifestyle and creating a different relationship with food and the things that you put in your mouth. And so these are the kinds of things that I'm going to talk about. These strategies are more for, what do I need to do to change what I'm doing today that I can incorporate, because it's not a thing you do for a month. This is how you live your life and how you move down the road for forever and ever infinity. I hate to say that, but it is the reality. And so I'm going to offer some lifestyle hacks and tips to help you get the pounds off. So first, number one, and this is a topic we've talked about a number of times on this show, except not in this context. But the first one is to become more mindful of what you're eating. You know, slow down as you eat the food. Take a bite, put your fork down or put your spoon down. You know, enjoy the food, chew it. Don't just swallow it. And become more mindful of that process. But in that, okay, so I'm guilty. I'm not very good at that myself. But one of the things that I do that is a very much of mindful practice around eating is to use a scale regarding how full I'm feeling. So if the scale is from 1 to 10, where 1 is you haven't eaten for 3 days and you're starving, that would be a 1. And then a 10 would be it's Thanksgiving, you've had 3 plates of food and pie, and now you're laying on the sofa and you've unbuckled your pants because your stomach is so full. That would be a 10. So this strategy is if you keep your satisfaction level, if you feel satisfied. So between a 3 and a 5, where you feel satisfied, not hungry, but not full, you will actually start to lose weight. If you keep the I'm satisfied and maybe I'm a little bit full, which would be a 5 to a 7, then you are in kind of a maintain your weight space. And you have to play around with these numbers for yourself. But it is really easy to check in. So let's say you have a plate, okay, and of food, and you eat it and you check in. It's like, okay, I'm feeling like a 3, so maybe I'll go have a little bit of seconds. Or you might go, wow, I'm already a 7. I need to stop. And use that to manage and guide your weight. I'm going to add a 1A in here. So tip 1A is plate size and portion size. And so if you're having a big plate of food, maybe use a smaller plate or a smaller bowl, because visually and psychologically, the plate will be full and you eat what's on it and then maybe say, okay, I'm done because I ate what was on my plate. Not going back for seconds, those kind of strategies, portion control, portion control, portion control. Strategy number 2. So they say that breakfast is the most important meal of your day. And it makes me laugh. And it reminds me of my parents who ate 3 meals a day. And don't call them up during lunch or don't call them up during dinner because they had to eat. And if they weren't eating, they would get upset because it's dinner time right now. And it's not like they couldn't have waited 10 minutes, because I would joke around and say, oh, you're going to emaciate in the 15 minutes. I'm going to be on the phone with you and you'll be skin and bones and you're going to fall over and die. But again, back to my original comment, there is the saying, breakfast is the most important meal of your day. But there's not necessarily the science to back that statement. And actually, the commentary of breakfast is the most important meal of your day was a marketing slogan to promote the newly invented breakfast cereals like Kellogg's Corn Flakes, and which came out in the late 1900s, early 20th century, to, again, promote their breakfast cereals. Now, if you're a child, it is important to get something into you in the morning. They have found that it improves cognitive function, gets things going. They burn a lot more calories than an adult. And so for children, it is an important part of their daily environment. But as an adult, there is way less evidence of having breakfast be something that is important to do. And so if you can sit there and push off when you eat that first meal or first snack, think about how many calories you're saving yourself in that maneuver. My personal philosophy, which people look at me about, is the first bite is the worst bite. Because if I eat something at 9 o'clock in the morning, by noon, I'm going to want to eat something else. Because that's when I'm used to eating, is around 11 o'clock, noon, 1 o'clock, in that window. And so I'm going to want something. but it also activates your stomach and activates digestive juices. And so it leaves you feeling hungry later in the day. So maybe don't have breakfast, push breakfast off till later in the morning and skip lunch or whatever, but move that back. All right. Tip number 3, liquids. Consume liquids. One of the things they do is they give you a feeling of fullness in the stomach. I mean, especially if you're consuming liquids like water. A shake would be okay, like a protein shake would be okay, because at least you're getting protein in. Avoid things that have a lot of sugar in them, like juices. Tea is okay, especially if you use like honey or maple syrup or like stevia to give it a little bit of sweet to it. But liquids will give you the feeling of fullness, even though you haven't eaten anything solid. 4, eat a salad every day, a hearty green salad every day. And I'm not talking about iceberg lettuce. What I'm talking about is like green leaf lettuce or red leaf lettuce, or using spinach as your base, because it's higher in nutrition and vitamins and minerals than iceberg lettuces. And if you save that salad, like you could have it for lunch, that'd be great. Or you could have it, if dinner is your big meal, if you have it prior to eating your dinner, it already is starting to fill your stomach, so that when you get to the main part of your meal, you're already starting to feel a little bit full. And so you're going to cut back on how much you're consuming during that period of time. One of the other things about having salad every day is you're getting in it gives you fiber. And so it helps with the elimination process, which can also help with weight loss. Double on that. Number 5, intermittent fasting. So there are a number of different views on intermittent fasting, even though many health professionals, alternative health professionals really do advocate for that. And so there are some that talk about eating meals in a certain format, where you have 8 hours where you are actually eating, and then 16 hours where you're not. So let's say and I would have to count here. So let's just say this is 8 hours, so you have your breakfast meal snack, let's say at 10 o'clock, and then you have dinner at 5 or 6. And that's your 8-hour window. And then you don't eat anything else until that next 10 o'clock slot again, which gives you that 16-hour fast, which helps to reduce some stomach size. It helps your body to rest and digest better. And there are many studies that show that that's a good method for just general health. If that's too complicated, you will also get a similar benefit by doing an intermittent fast, where your eat window is 10 hours. So that would be like from 10 to 6. I guess that would be 10 hours. I don't know, 10 hours. And then there's 14 hours where you are not eating, and you're giving, again, your body the opportunity to rest. But then there is yet the other option, which is to do a full 24-hour fast, which is something that I advocate, especially if you tend to be a big eater, and you're finding that by even just reducing your calories, you find yourself hungry all the time, or your stomach is growling at you. So one of the things that happens is that if we eat a lot, especially in one meal, and this is a consistent thing we do, is we expand the stomach. And so when we are cutting back, we still have this big stomach, but we're not filling it in as much as we had before. So our feelings of satisfaction are not being met. And so by fasting, it gives the stomach the opportunity, the muscle, because the stomach is a muscle, it gives it the opportunity to shrink. And so you don't have those hunger pangs or as intense hunger pangs as often or as intense. And so you can do a fast for 24 hours, 48 hours. I talked about this before. There's a cleanse called the Master Cleanse, which is lemon juice, hot water, a little bit of cayenne pepper and maple syrup. And if somebody is interested in more details about that, post that in the chat and I will give more details. And I've known people that have done the Master Cleanse exclusively for 20 days. I had a friend who did it for 40 days and consumed no food, consumed zero food. When you do something like that, that's that intense, you do have to be really careful in getting off the fast and reintegrating food back into your diet. So if you're new to this rodeo, it's not something that I would necessarily recommend right off the bat. Okay, tip number 6. Give yourself a cheat day. When we diet, we think, it has to be 7 days a week, 365 days a year, but it doesn't have to be that way. Give yourself a cheat day or a cheat meal. And that's the day that you can go and eat some fried chicken or have like a big old bowl of pasta and not feel bad or feel guilty about it. But that's the important part, is to not feel bad or feel guilty about it, because you're giving yourself permission to love yourself, to give to yourself and pick up those pleasures that you have been putting off. Because sometimes when you're dieting, it's like you put off, well, I'm not going to eat that. And so this would be your day that you can eat all of those sinful delights guilt-free, which makes it easier to stick to the other days of the diet, because on Saturday is cheat day and I can have that piece of chocolate cake and it will be okay. One other thing, and there's the concept of eating what you want. And I found this one to be very helpful. It would seem counterintuitive to say, well, if you want to eat Oreo cookies or something like that, that it's okay because they're cookies. Why would you want to eat cookies when you're dieting? But if you have a cookie or 2 or 3, that's one thing. Where the problem comes in is if you eat the entire bag of cookies, and so if that's something that you can do to satisfy the need and satisfy the craving in a controlled way, then having that little teeny cheat will also guilt-free, and not the whole bag, will help you stay on track. And then the last piece of information I'm going to offer with this is, when you're dieting, like everything else in life, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. And there are going to be days where you just want to eat everything. You're having a bad day and you want those comfort foods and you just don't care and you just eat. Or you're visiting family and everybody's cooking and everybody wants you to eat, and you're feeling overloaded. And a lot of the times when people have a bad dieting day, that's when they'll give up. They'll throw in the towel and go, oh, well, I can't do it. But you can. It's okay to have a bad day. It's right up there with having a bad brain day. We all are allowed to have a bad brain day every so often. It's when you have a bad brain day every day that the weight is going to come on. So don't quit and don't beat yourself up, and just acknowledge to yourself, wow, I'm having a bad food day, and just make the promise to yourself that you are going to get up and start again. And maybe it will be the next day. Maybe it will be that Monday and you're just like, you know what? I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm going to start anew on Monday and then go from there. Because again, dieting is a lifestyle. Dieting is, I don't even like using dieting because it seems like it's something that you're actively doing. Changing your relationship with food and changing what you are putting in your body with the goal of maintaining or losing weight and maintaining a healthy body is something that we do every day, and it's not something that we just do for a short period of time. So if weight loss is what your goal is, then maybe looking at it from that perspective of not I'm doing this, but more I'm changing my relationship with food and I'm changing my relationship with me. And what do I have to do that? Because in that process, the weight will come off. Okay. So I hope that helps, and I hope that makes sense to you. And it maybe gives you incentive to start a weight loss plan. Now, I understand the holidays are coming up, and it might not be something that you want to start tomorrow, but it might. I'm hoping that I'm planting a seed so that when the new year does come here, it might be something that you might want to implement into your daily life. Okay, so there's like a million comments on here. Okay, that's just that. Okay. All right, so before I start saying hello to everyone, don't forget that this show is brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can reach out to me and schedule time for a private consultation. I would love to help you with anything going on in your life, whether it's your weight, whether it's a relationship situation that's going on, whether it's where I'm supposed to be going and moving forward, or where I'm stuck right now and how do I need to undo what's keeping me from moving forward. But again, soulhealer.com, use the contact form, reach out to me, and we'll set up a time for a private consultation. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can learn to become a medical intuitive counselor, or certified energy medicine practitioner. And you can go to the website and download my free 50-page guide, Jumpstart Your Intuition, that will help set you on the road to opening up yourself to receiving your intuitive information. And then, as always, everyone, don't forget to visit my different social media. Like and subscribe. I have been posting a lot on Substack. I just posted an article about Ozempic and hormone replacement therapy. I'm very active on there, so please do stop by. And for those people that are listening to this show in a recorded format after the fact, and you want to join the activities and join the fun and get a free on-air psychic reading, please go to my YouTube channel. That's Just Energy Radio on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central, and it will open up the chat box, and you can join us here every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central. Okay. All right, guys, you ready?